Hello YouTube, I'm Douglas, and today we're going to be doing something slightly different than the normal kind of video that you see on my channel. Today we're going to be trying out other people's voxel engines and games. And the reason I'm doing this is because in my own voxel engine, I'm planning to start work on a building system that allows users to create their own content and maps and scenes for the game. And to start on that, I decided I would do a little bit of market research and try out other games, other voxel-based games that feature building systems. So let's get started. The first game that we're going to be taking a look at is Teroy, which is by another voxel engine indie developer called Frozen. You should definitely check him out. He's a really cool guy. Has contributed a lot to the voxel tech scene. The goal of Teardown is it's just a little voxel sandbox where you can terraform your own planet. So let's make a new planet here. We'll start out with a just normal grassy planet, and we'll get going. Now right away, I have to say that I really love the look of Teroy. Between the atmosphere, the clouds, and the grass, the world really feels alive. Which is something that's kind of hard to achieve just with normal static voxel scenes. But taking a look at Teroy's build system in particular, I think there are mainly two sort of sections here. You can terraform the land with sort of these sculpting-ish tools. So we can dig into the ground, or we can sort of shave away at the edges of the ground here. And then in addition to the terraforming tools, you're also given a whole bunch of items that you can place, I believe, like props. So let's see. Yeah, you can see here we've got a whole bunch of things that we can place, like trees, or a bird bath, or bridges, that kind of thing, umbrella. And what's interesting is you can't edit the props in this game, so if I sort of raise the land here a little bit, you can see it's not affecting the prop. If I flatten things out, the prop doesn't really get touched. Oh, that's interesting. The top of the umbrella does seem to have disappeared, but if I continue to click on it, or the bottom of the umbrella, nothing happens. So you can delete props by just clicking on the X here and then selecting an item. So maybe there's some kind of interaction with the editing system, but really all you can sculpt is the terrain. So I'm going to try and make something here using the sculpting tools that we've got. I want to make a planet that's like half ice and then half greenery. And at the top of the planet here, I want to put like a mountain. So I do find it interesting to see another thing you can do is you can sort of paint the terrain. You can change from grass to dirt, or you can change the color of the grass, that kind of thing. It's interesting to see sort of how deep this editing painting goes. So if I now like dig a hole here, it looks like the ice only is going about 10-ish maybe voxels deep when I paint the terrain, because you can see there's a little bit more grass that's starting to pop up here, which we can get rid of. Interesting. I love the transparency on the icicles. Transparency is something that's really hard to get right in voxel games. But you can see here that Frozen's rendering engine does a wonderful job with the transparency. You can see even what I'm guessing are rasterized objects behind it, like the particle effects. And you can also see that the lighting is affected by the sort of blue icicle here. You can see how the snow has turned slightly blue, if I'm not mistaken, which is really neat. Okay, so after about only just 15 minutes of playing around here, you can see that I've already got a lovely looking scene with a whole bunch of snowmen. Let's maybe turn the clouds down a little bit. With a whole bunch of snowmen, an igloo sort of sitting in the back there, and then a couple of street lamps and buildings over on this side. Definitely the sort of intuitive nature of the building system here, sort of drag and drop placement, makes it really easy to use. And I also really love the way the sculpting works. I think Frozen is using per voxel normals for rendering, and I'm guessing the per voxel normals are generated at startup. So I'm wondering exactly how he updates or changes the per voxel normals sort of when you sculpt. That's one thing that I don't quite have an idea of how to do. But definitely a cool game, and I would highly recommend checking it out. You can play it on Steam right now. Very neat. Okay, so the next game that we're going to be taking a look at is one that I've obviously drawn a lot of inspiration from on this channel, and that is Teardown. Now, I confess I've never played Teardown before, so I'm excited to be trying it today, and Teardown is sort of an open-world voxel sandbox game where you go around completing various missions that involve typically blowing stuff up. So Teardown also has a building mode, and that's what I'll be focusing on, but since I've never played it before, I'm going to start out by just going through the campaign and completing the destruction missions before heading into the sandbox. Something I'm going to be paying attention to as well as I go through this game is the physics engine and how robust it is. The physics engine that I implemented has a couple of remaining problems, but the biggest one is instability. Multiple objects sitting on top of one another will jitter and vibrate, and Teardown doesn't seem to have that issue as much. So I think that's because Teardown is using a simultaneous solver for collision detection. Okay, so I've been playing through the destruction campaign for about 5 hours now, and I'm really enjoying the game. Most stages are split into like a two-phase heist where you have to go through the level, destroy stuff, and plan out some kind of an escape route for yourself. And then you have 60 seconds to steal a couple of objects and get out. But I figure now it's time to take a look at what I came here for, which is the game's building system. So in the sandbox mode of the game, they have a creative mode where you can move around and draw and build freely, sort of like this. And this is definitely closer to the microvoxel style of building that I'd like for my engine. I know that Teardown's stages aren't made themselves this way. Teardown's levels are made in Magicavoxel, which is an external voxel editor. But we'll have a look at the in-game building mode system, and let's see if I can build something that is interesting and fun looking. I want to try and maybe build like a little house or cabin or something like that. Let's just try to find a good area to do it. This is one of the campaign stages, but we're in sandbox mode right now. So I think we have a couple of different options. You can basically select from a few different primitives. You can draw freely, or you can draw a line of some kind, or you can draw a box. So let's try drawing a box. And if I left click, it just sort of, whoa, I keep pressing spacebar by accident. The controls are a bit wonky. I'm so used to Minecraft controls, but every time I press spacebar, it brings up this menu. Anyway, as I was saying, if you left click, I believe it's just like you can draw freely in the air, but if you right click, oh no, maybe for a box it doesn't matter. For a line, let's try, or for a free draw, let's try free draw. If you left click, it keeps your cursor basically a constant distance from the camera, whereas if you right click, it keeps your cursor sort of projected onto whatever surface you're looking at. So I definitely like the ability to have the cursor locked. I would kind of expect the cursor to continue placing stuff, like right here. If I start at the bottom of the wall and I slowly move upwards, I would expect myself to keep placing blocks. I'd expect the plane to sort of extend infinitely upward. But it doesn't seem to do that. Like once your cursor leaves the surface, it's just like you stop placing anything and you can't place it anymore. But anyway, let's go ahead and try to build something. I want to start by just trying to build a little cabin. Okay, so I've been building for a little while now, and I'm just putting the finishing touches on my cabin. I will say the Teardown build system is definitely made just more for freeform sculpting, and especially for doing the roof here. I had a lot of difficulty with it. I also keep wishing that there was some kind of undo button. I find my fingers straying to Control Z. And that's just something I want to keep in mind for my own build system. I don't know exactly how I would implement undo, redo in the context of multiplayer, which is something that my engine currently supports by default. There's always a server internally running. It's separated into server and client. But having some sort of very simple undo, even if it was just like undo the last operation, that'd be very neat. But anyway, yeah, so here's the little little cottage that I built. I definitely think I pushed Teardown's build system to its limits. Obviously, this is a game more about destruction than building. But still, I think it's pretty cool that you're able to do this, and it makes me want to check out Magica Voxel 2, the underlying editor software they use to make the full levels. But for now, let's have some fun, if I can get up the stairs, by destroying everything. And there go the flaming ruins of my little cottage. Okay, so the next engine that I wanted to look at is an unreleased engine. This engine is being developed by another YouTuber called Ray, and this one is quite unique in terms of its graphics. The path tracing is a bit noisy, but it does use full path tracing, and he's got not just animated grass, but also animated trees, which is a look that few other than John Lynn have been able to pull off. I think actually John Lynn even saw a Twitter post about this engine and commented on it. So that's one of the few pieces of evidence we have that John Lynn is still alive. But anyway, this game does have a full-on building system, even though it is a prototype, much like my own system will be. So I wanted to try building a similar sort of little cottage to Teardown in this engine. So I'm trying to remember what the controls are. I think if I hit Tab allows me to choose material, so we've got a bunch of different colors, and then looks mainly like some types of wood. So pressing H here shows the controls, which is very helpful. So there are a couple of different build modes, I believe, but we can have a couple of different, we can control the size of the object that we're placing using the mouse wheel. And one thing I notice about this is that there's a variably sized grid. So as I scroll the mouse wheel, the blocks that I'm placing will snap to a different grid size. And this is a feature I really like, especially coming from, games like Minecraft. Having some kind of grid that allows the user to more easily align objects and place them, I think is going to be very important. Having a snapping grid was something that Teardown lacked, and I think that was one of the problems I had when building the little cottage in Teardown, was the fact that I couldn't get anything aligned or symmetrical because it was very hard to measure distances. So there appear to be 3 different ways you can build in this game. You can either just fill the entire grid cell that you've selected, or you can either place a sphere or a cube, and the sphere, you can control its size independently of the grid with which you're placing, as you can see here. And I can do the same thing by pressing F. I can switch to a cube whose size is independent of the current grid to which I'm snapping. One other way you can build is you can hold down Control while you're in the fill box mode, and it allows you to drag out a box of arbitrarily sized shape and then place it down. The way that you select the corners of the box is a bit confusing to me. The little selection handle doesn't seem to really track the mouse pointer. I would expect it to just go to wherever the center of the screen is projected, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But still, it's pretty neat. And if you want to extend the box upward, you can use the scroll wheel, which allows for a very precise but also relatively intuitive way to make objects that are tall. So I'm going to try and do the same experiment that I did in Teardown and build a little cottage using this system, and we'll see how it comes out. So here's how the build ultimately ended up. I was able to complete the full cottage. It's a little bit shorter than the Teardown version was, but I think it looks pretty good. And I love how with this micro voxel engine, I was especially able to add smaller details, like for example these shutters right here, or the little lip of the window hanging out from over the house. So I definitely liked the way the grid, the snapping to grid worked, because it made, building really intuitive even for someone who's mainly used to Minecraft. And I did find the sort of clicking and dragging to destroy or place a region of voxels to be a bit unintuitive. Even now, clicking and dragging around, I don't really have a good grasp on how to select the area that I want to fill. So I think when I implement something like this, I'm probably going to make it so that when you select the 2 corners of a box to fill with voxels, your cursor is always projected onto wherever the center of your screen is. Like here, you can see if I start a selection and then I keep looking right, the cursor, the box selection goes off to the left, and it's a very cool system, but to be honest, I have no idea why that's happening or how to control it. Out of the 3 engines that I've rated so far, though, I would say that Ray's comes the closest to the style of building system that I'm looking for. So definitely another neat and very innovative engine. Definitely go check out Ray's channel if you haven't. That's going to be about it for this video. Please leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of the more casual video style and whether you'd like to see anything like this again in the future. I'm going to go and get back to work on my own voxel engine, So please leave a like and subscribe in order to see that in the future. Thanks for watching.